Hello, everybody. Welcome to our session. This session is controlling IT spend and weighing cost savings during COVID-19. So I'm Matt Mearson. I'm your moderator for the event. As a reminder, today's session is going to be recorded, so you'll be able to come back and listen to this again later if you so wish. Additionally, please remember, if you have questions, the bottom left of your screen, you'll see a Q&A box. So we'll be looking in the Q&A box here at the end to answer as many of those questions as we can until we run out of time. And please don't put any of those questions in the chat box, as we won't be looking there. All right, with that said, I'd like to turn it over to our speakers today, Tom and Brian, to get us underway. So Tom, right here, the audience is all yours. Take it away.
Thanks, Matt. Hello, and welcome to Veritas's Conquer Every Cloud event. We're excited that you decided to join us for this session. My name is Tom Harwood. I'm the product manager for Veritas's InfoScale suite of storage and availability solutions. With me is Brian Marr, our new marketing manager for InfoScale. Now, you've all heard the expression that half the money spent on marketing is wasted. Well, Brian and I are still trying to figure out which half.
Thanks, Tom. I can see it's going to be a long 20 minutes.
Not if we can make it both educational and fun. Let's try.
Okay.
In this session, we're going to be talking about key areas that one of our global financial customers looked at to reduce costs while increasing both profit and productivity. Brian, 2020 started out as a good year, as most years do. And then it quickly transformed into that year of the new normal and unprecedented times.
Yeah, I mean, so much has happened in 2020. Devastating wildfires in Australia and the U.S., increased hurricanes, tornadoes, extreme flooding, drought worldwide. You name it, we got it.
Yeah, how about the Pentagon officially releasing videos of UFOs doing unworldly aerial maneuvers and U.S. elections? I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think my favorite, actually, Tom, is murder hornets invading the northwest of the U.S., which happens to be your neck of the woods, Tom.
Yeah, I live in Seattle. Told my wife and kids not to worry because the average person could sustain a couple of stings and still survive, but somehow that didn't seem to calm their fears.
Yeah.
Seriously, though, all these unprecedented events combined with COVID-19 global pandemic have most businesses looking for means to drastically cut costs due to the economic uncertainty.
Yeah, I mean, you really officially got me depressed right now, Tom. I'll be honest. But I mean, I got to ask you, though, how is weighing the cost of COVID-19 pertain to IT availability? It just seems to be a bit of a stretch.
Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's look at how IT can deal with these challenges, and it'll become clear, even to you, Brian.
Okay, Tom, go for it. But I have to admit, I get bored easy, so let's keep it moving.
Fair enough, but hey, isn't marketing tasks with spicing things up? I was hoping that you'd bring that half with you today. So please feel free to interject at any time.
Sure.
So how do companies deal with this? IT budgeting is challenging at the best of times, but with COVID, global recession, CIOs are facing increasing pressure to reach immediate cost savings. But they know that it needs to be done in a way that doesn't do damage to the long-term health of the business. As one CIO put it, we need to bring costs down quickly, but in a smart way.
Yeah, I could see how attempts to reduce costs just by doing spreadsheets would really cripple a company. You got to understand the impact of each item. I mean, it's not just about the cost.
Exactly. As organizations move through and beyond that low-hanging fruit of cutting costs in a crisis, they need some type of programmatic and structured approach to cost optimization. For instance, with the majority of workforces being remote, cutting IT support and services may not make the most sense at this point in time. Companies need a framework to evaluate cost proposals across a range of key factors, such as the impact on business, risk, and overall productivity. One such framework is Forrester's Total Economic Impact, but there are others. IDC, Gartner, McKinsey, Deloitte, all the usual suspects have one. In this session, however, we'll be discussing how one of our global financial customers actually leveraged the Forrester model to focus on business outcomes and how leveraging a software-defined solution is helping this customer keep IT costs at bay. So this Forrester TI, it's really an impressive case study.
Yeah, I agree, Tom. I see you provided the link to download the study on the slide itself.
Yeah, I did. Everyone, please feel free to download the complete TEI study for more details. I was particularly intrigued by this case study because, in my experience, financial institutions seem to understand cost better than any other verticals I've worked with.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because they manage costs down to a fraction of a cent. Anyway, the three areas that this company focused on to reduce cost while increasing both profit and productivity were, number one, managing risk and reputation. Reducing risk is obvious. You do not want your company's name mentioned on CNN because of an outage. Whatever changes you make cannot have a negative impact on your brand. So focusing on brand and quality can help sustain higher prices and sales and ensure higher profit margins over the long term. Secondly, reducing costs and increasing profit. Reducing costs increases profitability, but only if the sales price and the number of sales remain constant. If cost reductions result in a lowering of the quality of a company's products or service, then the company may be forced to reduce prices to maintain the same level of sales. And then finally, this company wanted to look at investing in business productivity and the next normal. They actually wanted to figure out how to take advantage of this downturn. IT leaders in general need to balance cost reduction efforts with the need to invest in a change business operations model for the new normal after these crises have passed, and they will pass.
Pass to what is the question, Tom? 2021 just seems to be a continuation of 2020. There seems to be no end in sight at all.
Come on, Brian, you marketing guys are supposed to be bright and cheery. Let's show how this can actually be a glass half full situation for many companies. So Veritas understands that you don't want to solve all application tiers with a one-size-fits-all approach because all applications do not have the same business value. Our position is straightforward. Your recovery method should match your recovery time objective. Just to level set on where InfoScale plays in this whole Veritas availability, protection, and insight strategy, the solution is targeted at the availability of your business-critical applications. The ones where, if they were to fail for any extended amount of time, there's going to be serious monetary impact. The applications that, in large part, keep your business in business.
Yeah, Tom, I totally get it. Every business has a couple of key applications that drive most of the revenue and keep the lights on.
Exactly. So now Veritas Enterprise Data Services Platform covers the full spectrum of recovery time objectives. In other sessions, you're going to be hearing about VRP and net backups recovery capabilities. But again, in this session, we're going to be focusing on InfoScale for those mission-critical application workloads.
Okay, Tom. So what exactly is InfoScale then?
One of my favorite questions.
Thought so.
InfoScale is a software-defined storage and availability solution designed to abstract mission-critical workloads from their underlying infrastructure and support the widest range of operating systems, storage, physical, virtual, or cloud platforms, so that our customers can confidently address the heart of their business without being restricted by past, present, or future technology decisions. Now, that's marketing speak. But Brian, I'm assuming that didn't answer your question because you have that deer in the headlights look.
Yeah, well, every customer has virtualization and some have cloud and strong backup recovery process. Why would customers really need InfoScale? I don't see where it fits in.
You're always going to need solid backup and recovery for insurance, just in case. And while virtualization and cloud have both done wonders for IT by creating an abstraction from the physical infrastructure, neither virtualization nor cloud have any understanding of the application. When you're considering the recovery time objectives for a mission-critical business service, infrastructure availability is one component. If you look at mission-critical services overall, they run the hearts of your business. They're really dependent upon four things. Number one, the infrastructure that the applications are running on needs to be 5 nines. Again, that can be physical server, virtual machine, cloud instances. It doesn't matter. That's just infrastructure and just one component of what you need. Secondly, the storage that contains the data for those applications, it really needs to be 5 nines available as well. And the storage can be anywhere. It can be DAS, NAS, SAN, iSCSI, S3, EBS, blob, or any combination thereof. Thirdly, the applications themselves need to be performing as expected. just because an application is running doesn't mean that it's functioning properly. I was a sysadmin for years, and trust me when I say that if a process shows up running, that does not guarantee it is performing as expected. And this is where we bring in the true differentiation. The overall service is the fourth and final requirement. And this is usually comprised of several applications, several data sources, and they all need to be performing in concert. That's why you need InfoScale, because it is the only solution on the market today that ensures that everything the business service needs to function properly and is up and running so that you can use your credit card, make a phone call, access your medical records, book an airline reservation, etc.
Yeah. All right, Tom. So walk me through exactly what happens when there's a serious problem.
Okay, good question. When there is a serious problem, a disaster, InfoScale functions like an emergency room out there. It gets a handle on the trauma to prevent any devastating effects. Think of like an advanced cardiac device that stores and sends information about your heart to your doctor to review. InfoScale, with its understanding of the complete business service, has already prioritized what needs to be treated first, coordinated all the dependencies, and stabilized operations, and is ready at a heartbeat to restore full business service operations to normal. Now, you can either have InfoScale dial 911 automatically to cook out things that need to be done, or you can choose to manually press the button yourself to fail over to another fully functioning site.
Okay, so that's why the top 10 financial services, healthcare, investment banks, and telecommunication companies, as well as a lot of the 911 services in the U.S. depend on InfoScale. Am I correct?
Exactly. Many of the world's most demanding enterprises trust InfoScale. So let's look into the first of three areas that our global financial customer focused on to reduce costs and drive business outcomes: managing risk and reputation.
IDC released a report named DR is Dead, Long Live Application Availability. It's an interesting way of looking at it, but if you think about it, it makes total sense. I mean, it's all about the application. The application drives the business value. Everything else is important, don't get me wrong, but everything's there to support the application. So it makes more sense that you should really worry about application availability and performance as a top IT priority. You agree?
Makes sense to me. IDC estimates that as many as half of all companies couldn't survive a true disaster because of inadequate disaster recovery capabilities, better known as DR. As a result, what IDC is suggesting is that organizations would be better served to focus on continuous application availability rather than a DR plan. One of the customer quotes was related to the fact that what everybody really wants is continuous operations. So focusing on availability is more important than recovery for those applications that are the heart of your business. Now, again, you'll still want recovery as an insurance policy, but if you architect your business resiliency properly, you shouldn't be taken down by a disaster. Another quote echoed that sentiment, that if you plan for apps to always be up and running, well, by definition, you will have business continuity. Now, managing risk and reputation has a lot to do with avoiding planned downtime. I'm wondering how many of those in the audience have experienced unplanned downtime over the past 2 years. Let's take a look. There. Okay, so we should be looking at poll question number 1. How many of you experienced an outage in the last 24 months? 100%. That's a big number. Give them a little bit of time. All right, has everybody submitted their answers? That's 7 in, still sitting at 100%?
Tom, I'd be shocked if it wasn't 100%, tell you the truth.
So, I mean, there's some eye-opening stats regarding enterprise availability overall. According to one particular poll, in the last 24 months, 91% of data centers have experienced an unplanned outage. So we're seeing 100%. That's right in line with that. So another stat here, this one varies widely by vertical, but for 80% of IT managers polled, downtime costs exceeded $50,000 per hour, with about 25% of those reporting $500,000 or more. 70% of the CIOs surveyed had either no or very little confidence that their business could actually recover from a DR event. And this further supports IDC study that a 50% survival rate from disaster is probably realistic. And, while the financial impact of downtime is easier to measure than many of the other costs outside of revenue loss have to be factored in. So, some may be surprising. For instance, personnel costs for the average Fortune 500 company costs over $1 million per week. So you add to that the reputation impact, project delays, weakened competitive advantage, and you begin to see that there's a number of additional factors that need to be considered along with revenue costs. So let's find out how many of those in the audience can actually quantify what an hour of downtime costs. Okay, so we should be seeing the second poll question.
Wow.
Do you understand what an hour of downtime costs for your mission critical applications?
Yeah, it's not as easy as it sounds, is it?
That's a tough one. Again, some of the verticals that I've worked with that really seem to have this nailed are the financial and banking. Because again, they manage everything down to the fraction of a cent. All right, those pretty good numbers, 73, 27%.
Okay, Tom, let's look at the real numbers for reducing costs and increasing profit.
Yeah, without breaking the bank.
Exactly. Avoiding revenue-generating application downtime was the first measurement impact this financial company did. According to them, revenue-generating applications are now more resilient thanks to InfoScale's high availability. And the hours of downtime they once experienced are now measured in minutes when InfoScale was deployed. They measured the decreased downtime directly to unaccrued revenue, as higher uptime equates to more revenue. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
They estimated that InfoScale delivered a 3-year present value of $6.3 million to the bottom line to the business.
No, that's an ROI on steroids. And we're only looking at one factor, right? Since InfoScale completely automates failover, IT professionals actually receive time back. This particular customer experienced savings from automating their failover process. So instead of requiring a team of people and leaving themselves open to human error, they can simply fail over with the click of a button based on their best practices.
That's true. I'm glad you pointed that out, Tom, because it's been one of my pet peeves. Operational efficiency is is a hidden cost that introduces unnecessary risk if the task is not completed correctly every time. And humans make mistakes, period.
Yes, they do. In this study, their largest cause of downtime came from the form of lost productivity. So when InfoScale detects a failure anywhere in the application stack, it automatically spins that application back up. An automated failover happens in just minutes compared to the manual failover process that would comparatively take hours and hours, according to this financial customer's experience. So increased uptime resulted in over $12 million in cost savings associated with increased productivity. That's a big number.
Not bad.
The Forrester TEI for this particular customer intentionally focused on 3 key areas, but during the exercise, there were several other areas of potential gains that were identified, such as avoiding planned downtime. Now, when it comes to revenue generating applications, downtime is downtime. While one of the primary focuses of InfoScale is to avoid unplanned downtime, more and more what we're hearing from customers is that planned downtime needs to be either reduced or just completely eliminated. And that's why InfoScale uniquely enables you to perform upgrades with zero downtime for maintenance. Storage efficiency. 20 years after the drive for storage resource management, scrutinizing your storage spend is actually starting to come back into vogue. especially in the cloud where performance storage is much more expensive than on-prem. So whether on-prem or in the cloud, InfoScale can deliver better performance at a fraction of the cost compared to any of the other native volume managers or file systems. Server efficiency. Now, this is just a classic example of why economic impact studies need to be done when making decisions to save cost. Choosing to go with free native clustering instead of InfoScale actually costs more due to the number of servers required. InfoScale doesn't require passive nodes that are just sitting there wasting money, but instead enables customers to take advantage of every single node, which can reduce your overall server cost by up to 50%. And then finally, automation and standardization is really a double-edged win by reducing personnel costs and eliminating fat finger scenarios. Brian, what's the number one cause of application outages?
I know this one. Human error, because we are the weakest link.
Correct. That's why InfoScale has been investing heavily in Ansible, Chef, Puppet, Yum. Several of our customers have automated the deployment, configuration, and the entire end-to-end management of InfoScale, saving both time and eliminating risk.
Tom, is here. Time's about up. So what are the key takeaways for these fine people?
Well, for those of you that are still with us, a few of the takeaways that we'd like you to think about when weighing costs during crisis is number one, identify those applications that are the heart of your business. One of those apps that you just cannot live without. Secondly, determine the business impact if they're down. Consider the potential for external facing revenue impact, internal loss of productivity, and just the cost of time. Again, download the Forrester TEI study from Veritas.com to see how this particular financial organization did it. If you're not sure what would happen to your company in a 911 type of emergency, then it's probably wise to make an appointment for a checkup. Veritas would be happy to identify areas where you can lower your IT costs while increasing productivity and set you up for a solid wellness program. Remember, there's a lot of truth to the old adage that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And finally, if you haven't already, adopt a programmatic and structured approach to cost optimization. This will help you not only survive the crisis, but thrive during recovery. Brian, do you have a better feel for why InfoScale?
Yeah, Tom, I totally get it, but does everyone out there understand the true business value of InfoScale? I mean, it's got to be a lot of questions.
Oh, you mean it's not just the two of us?
Hey. Not just the two of us, it's the three of us. I'm still here, guys.
Sorry.
I'm still here. All right. Well, so I'm looking for questions right now in the Q&A panel. If you have one, please submit one now. The good thing is, even if we don't get any here, try to always be prepared for these things, Tom and Brian. So I've got some questions that I've heard from individuals that have been talking about this topic with us even before the session. So let me give just a second. If anybody's got a question, please go ahead and put it in that Q&A right now. I'm looking down here. I'm waiting to see if anyone pops in. While we wait, why don't I ask you fellas one that I know has come up before. So with regards to InfoScale, does it only work with applications running in virtual machines?
No, actually, InfoScale can support mission-critical applications running on physical, virtual, container, or cloud platforms. It's the only single solution in the market that can support all of your availability needs, regardless of platform.
Yeah, and most customers have all those platforms at one time or another in their shop at the same time.
Or a combination thereof, absolutely.
Now, that actually makes sense, right? It's very infrequent that we just replace the previous platform with a brand new one. Typically it's a coexist, and sometimes you just never get rid of the old stuff at all. All right.
And that's the other challenge with those mission critical applications, that it is a combination. You may have a physical server on the back end running your database, your middleware application running on virtual machines, your web applications running on virtual machines, and 3 different operating systems. InfoScale is the only solution that can address that entire business service stack.
Yeah. Sounds like a winner to me. All right. Actually, here's another one I had. So if I'm planning to deploy some new apps using K8's containers, right, Kubernetes containers, does InfoScale work with containers in addition to VMs?
Yes, actually, InfoScale started supporting containers about 6 years ago with persistent storage for Docker. We currently support Kubernetes with both persistent storage and application availability, because what we're seeing is that our customers are wanting to bring those mission critical applications onto Kubernetes. We're also targeting OpenShift support in our upcoming 8.0 release. So we will supply the full suite of protection for mission critical applications running on containers.
And Tom, also along with those persistent storage, we also support 3 different classifications of storage to really meet the needs of the application, whether it's your standard storage itself or high performance or secure. Using the console through Kubernetes, you can actually pick the right one for the application, along with providing to make sure that your network and storage is mounted is also part of the InfoScale availability. So it's not only checking the application, but also the infrastructure. Once again, like Tom mentioned, we're kind of holistic the way we approach this thing, even the containers environment, because people are starting to deploy enterprise applications on containers.
That's a really good point. We are seeing a demand for various types of storage. So even while it's persistent storage for Kubernetes, we see the same thing in the cloud, where InfoScale actually enables you to set up a single file system with multiple tiers of storage within a file system. So your really performance storage can be on, SSD, a small portion of it, your data files on SAN, and your archive logs on some type of S3 storage. We can manage that all through InfoScale with a single solution.
That's a powerful message. Let me make sure I got that right. So you're talking pretty much about any storage platform, about any workload, right? And covering the majority of the different infrastructure types. So truly one solution that can meet all the needs. All right, that sounds good.
One throat to choke.
One back to pat.
Yours maybe, but yeah.
There you go. Right. We'll both point at Tom. You ready? Here we go. We're pointing at Tom. Yeah.
There you go.
All right. One last question. I think we're just about out of time. All right. So if we're migrating applications from on-prem to the cloud, right, is that something InfoScale can help with, maybe even preventing the downtime of those applications?
Yeah, interesting. Yes. We can migrate applications to the cloud with 0 RPO and an RTO equal to just the application's restart time. We essentially set up the cloud instance as a DR target. You fail the application over from on-prem to cloud. Once that application has failed over to the cloud instance, you can disconnect from on-prem instance, and voila, you've got your application migrated to the cloud. It was actually part of our DR strategy. Early on, customers wanted to be able to fail over from on-prem into cloud. So we set that up, and you can use that cloud as a DR target. But then we realized that that's essentially a migration path as well. You just disconnect that DR, and you've got your application running on the cloud. Again, whatever the startup time is for that application, typically less than 1 minute, that's the outage that you experience.
Yeah, and we have a lot of joint solutions, a lot of the cloud providers like AWS and Azure, because they know the power of what InfoScale can do, along, by the way, of making sure that environment in the cloud is also highly available. I mean, we don't just get them there, we also make sure that it sticks around, right, and performs well.
Yes, because as we know, cloud outages do occur.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a very powerful thing for the audience to know, because, with over the recent years, all of the effort that's been made to move let's call it the easier applications up into the cloud. A lot of organizations are still trying to figure out how do you finish that last mile, right? How do we get some of those higher tier, those more mission critical applications up into that infrastructure? And you guys just explained one way to do that.
And Matt, the other thing too is it's not just a one-way street. I mean, we're finding a lot of customers that moved to the cloud, found out it wasn't cost effective for them, and they want to bring it back on-prem. We can also do that too, because we're finding out this hybrid cloud environment that people move applications depending on the cost model and also how risk averse they are.
Or, I had one particular customer that moved to the large cloud providers early on for analytics. And then a competitive cloud solution that really does analytics well came on, and they wanted to move from that cloud to another cloud. Not a problem. We did the same DR setup targeted it over to the secondary cloud, failed it over to that, brought the application back up, and now they're running on the cloud that has better analytics, according to them.
Fantastic. All right. Well, fellas, I'd sit here and talk about this all day, but unfortunately, they only limited us to 30 minutes. So we've reached the end of our time for this session. First, I want to thank everyone in the audience for attending and spending time with us here at Veritas today. Also like to thank Tom and Brian. Fellas, that was a very compelling conversation about cost savings in this time of COVID. For audience, if you have any further questions on the topic, please reach out to your Veritas representative, right? They'll be happy to assist, get you plugged into some of our subject matter experts. Otherwise, we hope you enjoy the remainder of our Conquer Every Cloud event today. We hope to talk to you soon. Until then, take care and be safe.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.